Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Cognitive Recalibration podcast. As always, I'm your host, Shravan. We got Taran here with us,
Hello.
and it's Madam Webbing time.
Yeah. Time for the Sony cinematic universe of Marvel Pictures.
Is that what it's called?
I
I
don't
thought it
know.
was Sony Spider-Man universe.
I thought it was Sony Pictures universe of Marvel movies.
Okay, that's very long.
Yeah.
What's the acronym for that?
I don't think they have one.
Yeah. Well, whatever it is, we're back,
Mm.
and it's last time it was Morbing time. This time it's Madam Webbing time.
Maybe time after that it's Kraven time.
Yeah.
I keep saying Kraven,
Oh,
and I think people think it's Kraven,
yeah.
and I'm never going to say it the right way.
Well, I call it what's Craven, but I say we're all craving for Craven.
We're all Kraven for
Craven.
yeah.
Yeah, we're
They
all.
did show the trailer before this.
They
Big
didn't.
disappointment. Yeah.
No. But what a movie! We're gonna get into it. So we're gonna do non-spoilers to begin with, and then we're gonna jump into spoilers in the second half of the episode. So if you haven't seen the movie, you can keep listening because we won't spoil anything, and then we will do full spoilers after that. So it's directed by S.J. Clarkson, who this is her first theatrical film that she's directing, but she has directed a lot of TV. So a lot of larger TV shows in the past. So she has a pretty illustrious career when it comes to prestige TV. Starring Dakota Johnson along with a host of others. And it's based off a character in the Spider-Man universe, I guess. Apparently someone was saying that Madam Web never actually had her own comics.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I think recently maybe she has.
Okay.
Or more recently. But I don't know. I had never heard of the character.
Yeah.
I know she's in the Spider-Man animated series at some point, but
yes, she is. In the I think it's in the Clone Saga part of that animated series. She might be in it.
But it's not a character I was familiar with.
Yeah.
But she is a character that's in the comics at different points. So
yes. Yeah. Interesting choice for a film to base it off a character that doesn't really feature that much even in the comics, but they've done it. The story is essentially there's this woman that realizes that she has some powers in terms of she can look into the future, and then she runs into these three teenagers, and it's about their story, and there's a guy that's trying to kill them at the same time, and she's trying to protect them. And there's spider powers involved at some stage, and Spider-Man Easter eggs, and yeah. Positives. Do you have any?
There was one funny part.
Like
I think it was actually funny.
Okay, yeah.
Like people in our theater laughed. It was okay. That was probably it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I did like the Sony Columbia Pictures logo.
150 years celebration or whatever.
100 years, I think it
100
was.
years.
Yeah. So they showed like how the logo looked, like snapshots of it over time. That was good start to the film. Yeah. You've probably already seen other people's reviews of this, so you'll understand where people sit on this. I actually kind of had a good time with it, like here and there, but there was some boring parts as well. So
I think it is the worst movie we've reviewed on this podcast. It's this or you haven't seen the other one. It's this or Space Jam. Like one of those.
I've seen Space Jam. I think this is worse than Space Jam.
You've seen Space Jam?
Yeah.
I thought you never watched Space Jam.
The LeBron
one. You watched it?
Yeah, I didn't watch it in cinema though.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's this or that. It's the worst movie we've ever seen on this podcast. Do you think this is worse than that?
Yeah.
It's pretty bad. It's one of the worst things I've ever seen. I knew it would be bad. I didn't think it would be this bad.
Well, flashback to last episode where you're like, Argyle is the worst movie of the year, and you're going to base your rating system off that movie.
Flashback. Do you know what? I've decided this movie is going to be. Is it better than this movie this year? And honestly, the movie's going to have to be pretty bad to be worse than this. So, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a lot of movies are going to be better than Argyle this year.
So obviously this is this is a new rating. So
New rating for the year is it better than Argyle?
better than
Yeah,
Argyle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got Madam Web next week, so you might have a new contender.
yeah. We'll see. Honestly, Madam Web has to be pretty bad to be worse than this.
End of flashback.
1 week
But
later.
this is really bad. Like, I knew it would be bad. I thought it would be like Venom or maybe like Morbius bad. Morbius is bad, but it's not this bad.
Yeah.
This is terrible. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, what can we say? Like, the dialogue's atrocious. The story is terrible. The acting is quite bad as well.
I think most of the actors throughout this movie realized it was going to be shit.
Yeah.
And they gave up at various points.
It all
Dakota
came-
Johnson looked like she gave up from the get-go.
Yeah.
Like she could not care less. Yeah.
And I think the three teenagers, so one of them's Sydney Sweeney, one of them is Isabel Merced, and I don't know who the other one is. I'll look it up. But yeah, I did read, and I don't know how true this is, that some of the actors thought they were in the actual like Marvel Cinematic Universe.
So apparently when Dakota Johnson and when Sydney Sweeney posted on their socials that they were joining this, that they were playing this character, they tagged Marvel Studios in their posts, not Sony Marvel.
Yeah.
So the rumor is that they got these people to sign on by saying that they were going to be in a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
And look, a thing about these movies is, I think the general public, like one of my friends who's not super into Marvel movies, I told them that this movie was really bad, and they're like, "Oh yeah, Marvel movies are going downhill these days."
Yes,
Like,
I don't know.
They are going downhill, but also this is a different Marvel.
Yeah.
And I think they base a lot of the marketing of this to say that it's
a
based
Marvel.
in the Spider-Man universe,
Yeah.
and they say it's a Marvel movie.
It does get confusing though, like even if you're across all of this stuff, because Venom was in No Way Home, and Vulture was in the post-credit
In
scene of
Morbius.
Morbius, so it does
Yeah.
get confusing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I think Marvel Studios films are bad at the moment, and they're
Not this bad, though.
not yet. They're not doing well. But this definitely doesn't help the general public getting on board with Marvel Studios movies,
no,
because they're going to think this is another Marvel movie, and this is the worst thing any studio's put out in a while.
So I think it's up there with the worst superhero like comic book related movie. I think it's up there. I think it's
Yeah.
close to like a Catwoman, that level of bad. I think.
Yeah, I haven't seen Catwoman full movie, but yeah,
I think that's probably still maybe worse, but this is still bad. This is
Yeah.
quite bad.
it's very bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Like Elektra, or that era of superhero movies. This is set in 2003, so I guess it's that level of quality of movies that we used to get in 2003 when it came to superhero films. But yeah, it's I knew it was going to be bad going in, but it still surprised me.
It surprised me how bad it was, despite knowing that it was going to be bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I did have fun with it in some parts, so we can get into that more in spoilers.
It's pretty close to no bad that it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
So bad that it's good, sorry.
Yeah, it's got elements of it that I like that. Celeste O'Connor is the other teenager. I also saw elements of this that could have been a good movie, potentially. But I think they had, if they...
Do you know what the problem with these movies are? And all these movies? It's going to be the same problem with Kraven when it comes out. Why are you making movies about Spider-Man that doesn't have Spider-Man in it?
Yeah.
Like, it's a flawed thing from the beginning. Madam Web could be interesting in a movie that has Spider-Man in it.
Yeah.
And these
As like an
characters-
anti-hero / villain type character.
Yeah, and the characters that they introduce in this movie could be interesting in a Spider-Man movie, but there's no story there without Spider-Man. And they put shitty nods to Spider-Man throughout the whole thing and being like, you guys are fucking gonna love this. Like, we're gonna fucking give you his uncle before he was
He's gonna give his uncle, his mum.
Yeah.
his,
but it's terrible. Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I think there's certain things that they can't reference like directly in the movies, so they can't say certain people's names, I think, in these.
I don't know. Why wouldn't they though? Wouldn't they have the rights to it? I think they just like, oh, we'll leave it ambiguous because
Yeah.
who knows who Uncle Ben's going to marry?
Because the audience is smart. We're going to, assume that they're intelligent and they can piece together what things are. But yeah, it's bad. It's bad. So are you changing your rating system to worse than Madam Web?
The thing is, nothing's going to be worse than this. Like, nothing's ever going to be worse
So
than
2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Well, June is going to be better than this.
Yeah.
Like, there's no universe.
I don't think anything will be worse than this. Like, in a long time, there's like,
yeah,
nothing we watch will be worse than this. Yeah.
surely,
Yeah.
surely not.
I can't, at least Kravitz is an interesting character. I can see that still being better than this.
Yeah,
This is, it's unfortunate because I think we went and watched it with your wife and then one of our friends' fiancés as well. And they probably were expecting a better movie because it was a female-based superhero team up, which in itself is a good idea, but they just chose a shit movie to do it on.
yeah. I think,
and it's not really a superhero team up because no one has. Yeah.
So the marketing is very misleading in this movie because a lot of the posters and the trailer do emphasize the spider people, or the people with Spider-Man type powers, and that's actually not in the movie.
I think that's the biggest detriment of this movie is that for most of the movie, Dakota Johnson doesn't have powers, and then she kind of figures out how to do it. Fair enough. It's her origin movie, I guess. But the other three girls don't get powers through the whole movie. And they don't do anything for the whole movie except stupid shit. So, like, you got these three girls that do absolutely nothing in this whole movie. And, like, what's the point of having them in there?
Yeah.
Like, at least get them to do something if you're going to have them in the movie.
The elements of the movie that I thought, there was potential where, so Dakota Johnson's character, or Madam Web, what's her actual name? Cassie, is like she kind of doesn't like family and like she has no attachments and stuff. And then these three kids kind of have, they also don't really have family. So I think there was a element there where they could have explored something with the three girls and her in terms of their relationship. But what happens is they're in scenes, but then Dakota Johnson goes and does other stuff. She just leaves them. So it's a missed opportunity there. But yeah, I guess we can get into all of that in spoilers because I got a bit to. I think this might be one of those movies where we can actually talk about it from end to end in spoilers and
no one
kind
cares.
of analyze what we think about it. So obviously, it's a cognitive regression. It's it's an equal to Madam Web, which is your new rating. So yeah, we don't recommend it, but I think there can be fun in this movie if you like get together with some friends. I will say that. I think in that way it is better than Morbius, because Morbius you can't even make fun of it. I know they've made the memes and stuff, but that's just like besides in the actual movie, there's not that much. Yeah. Whereas in this, I think there is a little bit you can have fun with. Okay. I did forget to mention that two of the writers that worked on this were the writers from Morbius, but also Gods of Egypt. And there was another movie in there, Dracula Untold, one of the Dracula movies. So not a great resume coming into this. So and it sort of shows. But the movie starts with her mum. Yeah. And apparently this was a line in the trailer that people have made memes out of that's not in the movie, where she's like, he was working with my mum studying spiders in the Amazon before she died.
Yeah, something like that.
I can't remember if that was not like, it probably wasn't exactly that dialogue in the movie, but she does say something like that at some stage. And like the first scene itself, I started to realize like there was something off about the acting. Like even their mum's acting.
The
I'm like,
mum's acting's no good.
yeah,
But I think it's that dialogue she's given is very stilted as well.
yeah,
And I don't know what's happening with the villain in this movie, but the
yeah. We didn't
dialogue
mention
is
him.
yeah,
What's the character's name? Because he's the actual
Ezekiel.
character. Yeah, Ezekiel from
Yeah.
from the comics. He's an actual, but he's a character that helps Spider-Man.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So I don't know what's happening, but every single dialogue he says in this movie is ADR'd, I'm pretty sure, and ADR'd very poorly as well. It's everything sounds like weird and like not matching.
muffled.
Yeah,
It's kind of like he's got a paper bag on his head and he's talking.
yeah,
Um,
and it doesn't match what his
what his lips are doing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so either they like rewrote all of his dialogues, or like he was saying something else on set and they had to voice over it, or I don't know. I don't know what happened.
But every single dialogue he says in this movie is weird.
Yeah. But yeah, he's in the first scene. I think they attempt to sort of give him a backstory in the first scene where he's like, I wasn't as privileged as you and I need the money or whatever, and you need the spider. Yeah.
So he's the villain in the movie.
Yeah.
And I watched Jeremy John's spoiler review of this, and he made a good point.
Yeah.
Why is he so bad? What's so bad about other than him killing Madam Web's mum?
Yeah.
What
And he
makes
kills
him
a couple of other guys as well.
Yeah, but that's in an effort to kill the three girls, I guess.
No, like in the first scene.
Oh, in
as
the
well.
first scene, yeah.
He kills some guys and he kills her mum. He gets
But
the spider,
what's-
but like we don't know what he's done in between. Like, has he actually been a bad guy or?
The reason he wants to kill the girls is because in the future they kill him.
Yeah.
But why do they kill him?
Yeah, you never find out why
Yeah.
they kill him. And it looks like he's a much older guy there. And he dies pretty brutally. So, like, what did he
do to deserve it?
That's right. Yeah. Why are they trying to kill him? Is a good question. So his whole motivation in the movie and the whole thing around the story is because he sees them in his dreams. He wants to kill them before they actually kill him. And we're jumping forward a bit here, but the tech in this, it's 2003. So I don't think even AI today can do stuff like this, where he describes what the girls look like in his dreams, which he doesn't see properly because they've all got masks on.
Oh, yeah. So there's another weird part there where he describes what he thinks they look like, and the girl does like a generated image of it.
And then
she says, I'm going to do a 10-year range. But then she's like, oh, they must be 15 now. I'm like, but how do you know that?
Yeah.
You said you're going to do a 10-year range.
And the images that she comes up with are like
spot on. Yeah.
Exactly how they look.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like some tech that doesn't even exist now. But yeah, anyway, after that first scene she dies, but then we get this there's like spider people that live in the village or like wherever they are in the Amazon, in the forest. And the way they introduce is just hilarious. Like it's just like they're jumping across trees or something. And obviously they were keeping an eye on what was going on, but not like they still let him kill her. So not close enough.
And the CGI is pretty bad as well.
Yes, yeah. And they're all like they're obviously very tribal. Like they've got like, you know, like ropes and stuff. Like they're not wearing proper clothes.
But then he comes back later in the movie and he's just dressed like
guy
out of like a Ralph Lauren catalog. He's just like a normal bloke.
Yeah. So and what they do is they get the spider to bite Madam Web's mum, and then she
gets the future powers.
Yes,
future powers,
but obviously she never uses the powers for like the first 30 years of her life.
It doesn't unlock until she like nearly
almost dies.
Yeah, and then it unlocks for some reason.
Yeah.
Because she, once again, not protocol, I think, if you're a paramedic to get in a car that's going to fall off a bridge, but she does it for some reason.
Yeah. The door closes and it falls off.
Yeah.
But she survives that, and that's how she gets the powers. But the first scene where she's introduced, which is immediately after the spider biting scene and in the past, and it's like a 30-year, something like that, so 35-year gap or something. And if there's just a funny dialogue, and I only realized this afterwards, where she's having a conversation. So Uncle Ben's in this movie, Ben Parker, and he's also a paramedic, and they're working together. And then in the first scene where she's driving the ambulance, she's like, "Haven't you ever been shot in Queens?" And
he does get shot in Queens, doesn't he? Do you think they did that on purpose? I think they might have done that on purpose. I didn't realize it at the time. Yeah.
I realized it afterwards. Like, was that just like a really bad joke?
Yeah. That's actually pretty funny now that I think about it. Yeah.
There's a funny thing afterwards that she says as well, but we'll get to that. And anyway, she sees one of the girls at the start. She sees all of them because they're all linked in some way throughout the movie. And then this part where she, like, until she gets her powers, it actually goes for a little while. Like,
yeah, it's very boring.
Like 25 minutes, and there's all these unnecessary Spider-Man references. So obviously Ben Parker's her friend, and then he's
you see her mum. Peter Parker's mum.
Yeah. And there's a part where they're just talking, and he's like, "Oh, I'm seeing someone," and she's like, "What's her name?"
And he doesn't say.
And he doesn't answer.
Yeah, he doesn't say. He gets a stroke mid sentence and doesn't say anything. Yeah, they got that. That part's all boring. Like, nothing happens.
Yeah. There's a bit of Pepsi.
Lots of Pepsi sponsorship throughout this whole movie. Yeah.
She has a can of Pepsi. The bottles of Pepsi. In the climax scene, there's a Pepsi Cola.
There's a Pepsi logo. Yeah.
They're the key finances of this movie. But yeah, she gets her powers. She survives, and then she starts seeing visions and stuff. There's a lot of CPR in this movie as well.
Yeah, a weird amount of CPR, like unnecessarily amount of CPR.
Like, how many CPR scenes are there? Because there's one.
Even in a movie that has paramedics in it, unnecessary amount of CPR.
Yeah.
It's like
she does it at least
4 or 5
right?
times. 4 or 5 times.
Yeah, and then she gets the kids to do it.
Yeah, and then she gets it done on her by Ben Parker.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and then they do it on her at the end.
Yeah, she does it on that random guy.
Yes.
Who she stops doing it, and then he wakes up like 5 minutes later.
I think he didn't even need CPR, but I think he was actually fine.
I think he was fine.
She was just giving him CPR anyway.
They did it anyway. Yeah. He was just sleeping.
Yeah. And then the other guy who she sees dying, and she's like, I want to drive. And then he drives and he dies. And she does CPR
She does CPR on him. Yeah.
And then Ben Parker does CPR on him as well.
And then she gets done on her at the end as well.
Yeah. Lots of CPR.
Lots of CPR.
Yeah. So after she gets her powers, she...
after she gets her powers, it goes really boring for a little bit. Because it's like the guy finds them, like they're on the train, and they keep running away. And then she goes to find information that we already know as an audience, but she needs to go find the information, which is the most boring thing as an audience to go to.
When she goes back to her apartment?
She goes back to her apartment, looks at the stuff, and then she goes to Cuba? Peru, yeah. And then it's all information we've already known because they show it at the start.
Yeah, so I think, like, did they really like those scenes? Because they show them twice.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, it's so boring as an audience to see stuff twice that you already know. Like, it's like a half an hour segment of the movie where she's finding out stuff from her past.
Yeah.
But we've already seen it. We already know what happened.
And they literally played back like exactly the same. Like, it's not even from a different angle or something. It's the same scenes.
Yeah.
So they must have just been really proud of that first scene with the mum. How she...
I would at least expect them to give us like more information, but they don't. It's the same stuff. Look, like, I guess there's a little bit more information, but
you find out why she goes to the Amazon to study it. But
it's boring.
Yeah.
Also, she drives. She's in a cab. She steals a cab.
Yeah.
And then she transports it around the kids with the cab. She takes the cab and she takes the number plates off. But also, she leaves the number plates right next to it. And also, the number plate's on the top as well, so it doesn't make sense. Also, she drives the cab to the airport, takes a plane to Peru, and then she comes back and then gets back in the cab and drives back to the house.
So she just
left the cab there.
Yeah. And so when she meets these kids, also there's terrible dialogue throughout the movie, but one of the most terrible dialogues was like, she just talks to herself like a lot of the times. So she like discovers she has powers, and like she saves like a pigeon from dying or something, like hitting the window, and she's like, "Oh, so you can save lives."
Yeah, they have to make everything so like abundantly obvious. So that like everything has to be said in this movie.
Yeah.
There's also a point at the end where she's like doing her powers, and then one of them's like, "You're really showing off, aren't you?" And then she's like, "Not yet." And then she does something else. It's like, "Oh, now you are showing off, aren't you?" And she's like, "Yeah, a little bit." And then 2 minutes later, it's like, "Now you're really showing off, aren't you?" Like, how many times are you going to say this? It's the same dialogue over and over again.
Yeah. So, well, she meets these kids in a train, and she's like, "Oh, you get up, get out." And then, so he comes in a Spider-Man suit, like a Spider-Man.
Also,
suit.
he's always in his Spider-Man suit, but then whenever you see him talking on the phone, he's in his tuxedo.
So he gets out of it pretty quick.
Is he wearing it underneath his tuxedo? Like, what's happening?
Has he got like the Iron Spider type situation where he just comes out?
Yeah.
But yeah, like he beats up some policemen, like very clearly beats up like 20 policemen, but they still think it's her because they're looking for her and not him.
Yeah. Oh, also, we forgot to mention this, but he goes to the opera to pick someone up.
Oh yes, yeah.
And the way he seduces the chick is he acts like he's gonna give her a magazine, and when she goes to grab it, he takes his hand away, and then
it. That was enough.
Yeah, and then they go home with each other.
Yeah. And it turns out she's like works with the security department or something, so she has access to this technology, and that's why he actually went to...
At the start, I was like, did he pick up this chick or does he know her?
Yeah.
But it looks like he picked her up.
I think it was just a pamphlet thing. Like,
yeah.
Just try that next time if you're, just try to give a pamphlet to someone, but take it away.
Yeah. And that's how you... Yeah. That's how he picked up this chick at the opera as well. It's not like it was at a bar or something. No. It's at the opera. Yeah.
Yeah. We're jumping around here, but yeah, it's probably still more coherent than the actual movie. And she leaves the kids in the woods for like 3 hours.
Also, so she's kidnapped these kids. They think they've kidnapped her.
Yeah.
So she leaves them in the woods and she goes back to the city.
Yeah.
So that if she gets caught by the cops, they'll think she's killed them.
Yes. Yeah.
Rather than taking the kids with her, and they could say, no, she isn't kidnapping us. Yes.
So like, I was just thinking about this. Like, what if this was just an elaborate scheme? Like, the kids don't know, right? They just met her.
Yeah.
They've seen this guy, but what if she was actually working with him and this was just like an elaborate
way to get her to kill her.
Yeah.
Kill them, yeah.
To kill them, or like some trafficking scheme or something. Bring them into the woods and then they'll get shipped off to South America. Yeah. So,
it made no sense why she didn't take them with them.
Yeah, and I think it would have made the movie better if they were actually with her.
Yeah. Apparently in the interviews, Dakota Johnson said the three girls got really close to each other, and like she isn't that close with them. I know why, because she's in no scenes with them. She's in like 3 scenes with them in this whole movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So she leaves them in the woods, and then there's another nonsensical part where they're not going to stay there for 3 hours with like barely no food and water. So they go to a diner and they decide to dance on the tables because there were some boys there.
In this diner in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
With, for some reason, there's high school kids there. Yeah.
And also the Daily Bugle's super efficient in this universe. So they have a version of a newspaper that comes out the same day with photos of the incident that happened the morning.
Yeah, they get kidnapped in the morning, and then by night there's a newspaper with their pictures on them. Yeah.
So this is the part where they replay. So she does turn up. She finds them in the diner, but then she gets killed. But then she goes back in time. She still doesn't know how to control her powers at this stage. But she I also realized that every time she wants to take out the villain, she just drives a vehicle into him.
Yep. She drives a cab into him.
Yeah.
And then later she drives an ambulance into him.
Yeah. And the second time when she drives the ambulance into him, it's because she drives through like a billboard or something.
Yeah.
And I don't think she would have hit him if he didn't jump.
He jumps into it. Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So I'm like, did she see that coming? Like, did she see that he was going to jump and then get hit by her ambulance?
Also, like, that could have very easily gone into her hitting everyone in that car.
Yeah, exactly. She just running over them.
She nearly killed all of them.
Yeah. So, and there's multiple parts where she just leaves the girls. So she leaves them in the woods, and then she brings them
leaves
to her
Yeah.
like a hotel or a motel. She leaves them there as well. And there's a part where she goes back to the diner, and then she talks to
Never explained. Don't know
Yeah.
why. Don't know how, but it
like
happened
how
somehow.
does that
Yeah.
even work? Like, yeah.
She talks to the villain somehow.
And then she finds
yeah.
out like exactly why he's after them.
And then she leaves them with Ben Parker as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For like a week.
Also, second thing. So she leaves it with Ben Parker, and the mum goes into labor for Peter Parker.
Yeah.
Why did the girls go to the hospital with him? Why can't they just stay in the house?
Yeah, because they were obviously safe. Like
They're safe in the house.
they'd been there for at least a couple of days because she went to Peru in that time. So
they can stay in a house for a couple of hours, can't they?
yeah, I think they were obviously safe there, so they could have stayed there. But
instead they put their hoodies on way too high and then go out in a car and then look out the windows very clearly. So yeah.
Yeah. And we also haven't explained that like the villain has like some like tech person that can hack into this system and look at where they're going and stuff. And she seems like she has a conscience. Like she's like, oh, they're only teenagers. I didn't realize we were going to be killing teenagers. But she still does it anyway.
Still does it anyway, yeah.
Because it's like, I'll pay you a fortune.
No, he said, I paid you a fortune. So I assume he's already paid her.
Yeah. Okay.
That's just a line he throws out there, by the way. Like they're just talking at some point.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, I paid you a fortune, and walks away. That's the end of the scene.
Yeah.
Where
did he make his fortunes? Because
I don't know. We know nothing about this guy. We know absolutely nothing. What we know about him is he shot Madam Web's mum, and he wants to kill these 3 girls.
Yeah. What else? Like she's obviously like being pursued by the police, but she somehow still manages to get on a flight to Peru.
Yep.
At one stage, I thought she was going to drive to Peru. I was like, that's the only thing that would work.
You can drive to Peru from America. Yeah.
Yeah, because I thought she wouldn't be able to get on a flight, but she does.
Also, she perfectly finds the spot where her mum died based off photographs.
Yes.
Yeah. She's like, oh, this tree looks like this tree.
Yeah, it's perfectly lines up.
And
30 years later. Yeah.
Ralph Lauren guy just rocks up there.
Yeah,
He's
the
just
model.
been waiting there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's just there. And then he throws out the most ridiculous line, which is just they didn't want to use great power. With great power comes great responsibility.
So they switched it around. They said, with responsibility, you get great power or something?
Or like when you take the responsibility, you will have all the power or something
like that. Yeah.
It was terrible. Like I laughed in the cinema and my wife's like, why are you laughing? I'm like, and he says it again. It comes up again afterwards. Yeah, terrible. And the terrible Spider-Man references. So obviously the Ben Parker stuff, but like they go to the naming or like the baby shower for Peter Parker, and they have a game where they're trying to guess the baby's name,
but they don't say his name.
They don't say his. Like, that was just complete. That whole scene is unnecessary. Like, why is it there? Because they do kind of show that she does the scene twice because she goes back in time, but they could have done something more interesting than that. There's no reason for her to be friends with Ben Parker.
No. There's no reason for Ben Parker to be in this movie.
Yeah.
And yeah, the other Spider-Man there's Ben Parker, there's the Spider-Man's mum.
They say her name and I forgot.
I've forgotten it as well.
Mary,
yeah. Mary Parker. Yeah.
Richard Parker's not in it.
He's not in it.
He's an absent father. Well, like he's working or something?
He's working, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, do they have any other... There's Spider-Man stuff in it. They say Spider-Person at one point.
Yeah, because they're not allowed to say Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Because they're describing this guy and they're like, oh, he's walking on the ceilings, and they're like, he's like a spider-person. Like, why wouldn't you just say Spider-Man?
Just bad. Bad. Well, it ends with a stupid fight.
Yeah.
Which is boring.
Where she sees everything coming.
Yes, she sees everything coming.
And then she also does this thing where she's in like 3 different places at once, because he's like, oh, once you know how to control your powers, you can
be in multiple places.
Multiple places at once, yeah.
So she does that.
Also, when do the girls like, How do they become spider people exactly?
Because they don't in this movie. If you're expecting them to, they don't. Yeah.
Because if that happened, like how do all three of them get powers?
Yeah, never explained. They all have like different powers as well.
Yeah.
But it's never explained at all. I think the point is that these people have to be spider people after Spider-Man is, I assume.
After Spider-Man, so they'd be much older. Because Spider-Man's just born.
Yeah, just born. So it's got to be at least like 15 years later.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. But yeah, you don't find out how they get their powers at all in this movie. And they don't do anything in this movie either. In the last fight, it's not even a fight. It's just Dakota Johnson running around until something hits this
setting
guy.
up like fireworks or something.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But he dies way too easily as well. Just
dies with the Pepsi collar.
The sign falling on him.
Falling on him. Yeah.
And then they have a terrible. Well, she gets like thrown into the water, and I think a fireworks hits her in the eye, and then they take her out and they do CPR on her. And the next scene, she's in hospital and she's blind now,
and
because she's blind in the comic books, and she's also a paraplegic for some reason. I don't know why.
Did she also injure her legs when she fell off?
Possibly.
She fell off like arguably a bigger bridge at the start of the movie.
Yeah. So I don't know. She's in a wheelchair anyway, and she's got sunglasses on, and then like an absolutely terrible future scene is shown. Where
like they're like, oh, what do you see in our future? Like, why? Well, and then she's like, oh, she goes through like, you see them in the spider suits again, and and she starts saying all this creepy stuff as well, because they're like, because Peter Parker's born, and I think one of the girls is like, oh, Ben's enjoying being an uncle, all the fun but no responsibility, and then she's like, that's what he thinks, because she knows that Peter's parents are gonna die.
Yeah. She becomes very creepy at the end in a very like sinister way, like almost. Yeah. I would have. And also, like, she does stupid shit. Like, one of the girls is about to sneeze and she says, "Bless you," and she's like, "What?" And then she sneezes like
immediately.
Yeah. And I'm like, stop doing that shit. First off, it's annoying. Like, stop saying stuff before it's about to happen. Like, that would be fun maybe the first time or the second time you do it. But if you keep doing that for years, someone's going to kill you.
Yes. Also, the nurse comes in and she's like, "Are all of you family?" And she's like, "Yeah, they're all mine."
Yeah.
And the nurse doesn't question it for 1 second.
And then just walks out.
Yeah.
The nurse came in to ask them if they were family or not, and just walk out. She had a chart as well. I don't know if she was meant to check something, but she didn't.
So, it ends with that pretty much.
Yeah, like absolutely terrible. The costumes look shit as well, honestly. Yeah.
Oh, it's like all blurry for some reason. All like that whole sequence is just like, it's in his dream, so maybe that's why it was blurry. But even at the end, it's blurry.
Yeah.
So yeah. So they hint at like some other stuff, but it's never gonna come out. So don't worry.
I don't see them ever revisiting this. Ever again. It's a character that could have been good in another medium, but it was not used well at all. Yeah.
Yes. There is no mid-credit scene or post-credit scene, so you can leave straight after the movie ends.
I think everyone in this movie, like production, director, actors, everyone knew they were making something dog shit. Everybody knew. Dakota Johnson even says in interviews that she thinks this movie's crap. Before it came out, she's like, you never know with these movies, because when you make them, like, you don't know how they're going to turn out.
Yeah. That's a nice way of saying that. It's
probably shit.
It's probably not good.
Yeah.
Well, anything else? I mean, what a movie.
Yeah, very bad. When I watched it, I was surprised at how bad it was. Like, once again, because I expected it to be bad. I've seen Morbius, I've seen Venoms. This is a whole new level. Yeah.
What was the one scene that was actually funny? Was it the scene where they're playing a game and she's like,
my mum died in childbirth. And like everyone.
And she keeps going.
Yeah. That was kind of funny.
That was actually kind of funny.
Yeah. Rest is terrible. Yeah. I would not recommend this to anyone.
No. But I think you can have fun. I think if you get together with some friends and have some drinks, and I think it might be a good
It
time.
could be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know what to say after that. I guess we could wrap it up there. So if people want to get in touch with us about Madam Web, how do they go about it?
So you can contact us on cognitive recalibration podcast at gmail.com, or we're on all other platforms at cog recal.
Yeah, and if you want to support
recalibration,
yes, I think Instagram's cognitive recalibration. And if you want to support the podcast, you can do so via give us a like on this video and a subscribe on our channel. And if you're listening to us on audio, then give us a review on Spotify or iTunes, because that makes us more discoverable on search engines. I think next week, I forgot that this was coming out, but maybe we should probably review the Avatar live action show.
Oh, is that next week?
Yeah.
We could watch that. And review that.
Yeah. So that's 22nd. So I think it's coming out on the Thursday.
Don't know if we will be able to watch the whole thing.
I don't know how many episodes.
Try. Yeah.
I reckon we could. Yeah. If it's good, I reckon we can get it done in a couple of days. And then June part 2 the week after that. Yeah. Cool. Hopefully better than this.
Yeah, I don't think anything will be worse than this. Like, even thinking back to like straight to Netflix stuff or like stuff that we've watched on streaming, nothing's been as bad as this in a long time. The last thing I remember being close to being as bad as this is Space Jam.
Yeah. I'm just thinking the other bad movies that, like, The Nun was pretty bad, but not this bad. This is a new low. This is
I think Space Jam is pretty close to this. Like, it's on that level, but you think Space Jam's slightly better for some reason. Yeah.
Maybe because I didn't watch it in the cinema. I didn't pay for it. I just watched it on streaming. But yeah. Morbius is pretty bad, but
it is. But this is next level. It's quite terrible. Yeah.
All right. Well, hope you enjoyed our review or rant of Madam Web. And we'll see you next week for something a little bit better, hopefully with Avatar.
Hopefully it's better than this. Yeah.
Thanks for listening and spending some of your day with us, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.